like how do you actually get started? Okay, so how do you set up the infra and other things? Your environment is something that we discussed in the last meeting. So if you have any doubts around, please go and check over there. But in today's meeting, we will take a simple idea and we will try to build a basic thing. It should probably take like 15 minutes for us to execute something from scratch. Okay, so that's what we're actually going to do. As usual, just feel free to ask questions if you have anything, and we'll see where it actually goes from there. So let me get started with sharing my screen. One second. Right. Steve, anything you want to add before we start?
Yeah, I mean, if it helps, we should probably try doing it hands-on. That's I've just opened my cursor.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, guys, this is a very simple 10-minute thing. It shouldn't take more than 10-15 minutes. It will be nice if you guys can also, can do this in parallel. Okay. So very easy. Just open your cursor if you have installed already. You should have ideally, and you can just do this together. It become much easier.
Maybe, I mean, if people haven't installed, maybe they can download and set it up to take 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. So does everyone have cursor installed? Okay. Can you just download and install?
While they download, maybe we can just set the context on app itself and then what we plan over the next couple of weeks as well.
You want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So the current example is, I mean, we are starting with something simple where you give 10 topics. Then we will use LLMs to kind of go through the internet using Google search. But can give a condensed version of the news on the topics that you that we initially give. That we'll see that on how to run that using Python notebooks. But as of now, the thought processes start here. How do we then build an application? How do we build APIs on the top of this? Maybe at some point we may even try to say how do we send this directly on WhatsApp? How do we deploy it? How do we store some of these personalized things into the database? For example, what are the topics that each people is interested in? So just evolve this into a full-fledged application for basics to start with, and hopefully that will help us to get to a place where we can just build on stuff that we're all interested in. So that's a very high-level overview of what we're going to build.
Just double-clicking on the topic. The topic taken up is. I mean, we spoke of I saw the suggestions from Tarun and one more person also, but just for simplicity's sake, what we thought will be more relevant to most of this is imagine that every day morning you have certain topics that you are generally interested in. If an LLM can take the last 24 hours news, synthesize it, and send you every day morning a summary of what has actually happened. Imagine that coming on your WhatsApp, you just check the important things. Whether you going to Twitter or LinkedIn or somewhere else to find the news, if it can do it yourself, so that's kind of the idea, right? Again, tomorrow you can enhance it by saying what are your preferences? Can it understand your preferences automatically? Can it agree on relevances based on whether you like a particular topic or not? Can it actually do ad hoc alerts if there is something important which are actually happening? So a lot of these things you can actually enhance and do it, but it's very simple thing. Can we just do a Google search, synthesize, summarize the information, and send it to us over WhatsApp or whatever channel? Right? So that's the simple topic. All right, cursor installed.
I've opened, I've created an empty folder and I've loaded it for now.
Okay. Others, let me know when we can start. We have all the time in the world, so don't worry about it.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Me too.
Keshav?
Yeah, it's just opening up on the
GK?
default set. Concept.
There is some background. Keshav and I used to build games in Zynga. That's how we know each other. Back to square one.
Yeah. GMK?
Mine is installed already. I installed last time only.
Okay. So, simple, just go to your whichever folder you want, just go create a folder. Okay. So I have everything put in playground. So I'm going to create a new folder called root. Okay. So this is what I'm calling it. Now, once we create a folder, just click on open project. Sir, go to that location and just open. Okay. So it's pretty empty, but it should actually give you this information. So, got it. Okay. So if you remember the last session, we had to install some packages and everything. Okay. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file. So this file is called, I'm going to call it notebook. Okay. So there is a little bit of context on these IPMB files. So these are called Python notebooks. Okay. So you have used it before. So a typical coding environment has, a bunch of files, like a lot of code, everything. And if something goes wrong within that, you have to go debug line by line and make it. It kind of becomes overwhelming to actually start with. Notebooks are like if you click and open the notebook, it should open. Notebooks are a simple way for you to kind of run the logic and make sure like the basic stuff is actually done. So when you are starting with a new project, if you want to testing something, before thinking about how do I deploy it, how do I expose it to others, etc. If you're not going there, the first place, a recommended place for you to start with is a simple notebook. Okay. So there are two blocks. So one is a markdown and a code. So code is where you actually write code. For example, let me show you. In code, if I say hello world, oops, yeah, we have to pick a Python environment. So if you guys remember the last thing, so last time for like you guys, we are going to use a bunch of packages for this project, but these packages might interact with other projects that you have in your systems. So it makes sense for you to create a specific environment for this project alone and just use it for this project. Okay. So like a lot of context in the previous meeting, guys, just please go and check that. So I'm going to create a new environment only for this. So click on terminal, click on new terminal. So terminal will open with the corresponding folder that you are actually in. And this is the command that I'm going to use, Python -m venv, and I'm going to create an environment. So use underscore env. This can be any name. So this is your custom name, but I have this format. Okay, again, don't worry about it. All of these are described in the last meeting. The YouTube videos there, the documents are there, so you can actually check it out. For now, just follow this. So I'm going to run this. So what it essentially does is, for this project alone, it creates an environment. So everything will be with respect to this project. Okay. So once I have run, I'm going to say source dot new cnv bin activate. Okay. Done. So once this is done, if I run print world, I can choose a Python environment and I can choose a news underscore env, which is what I just created. Okay. So I'm going to run this again. This is this package it's asking me to install. I'll just install.
Don, I'm getting an error saying Python not installed, although I did earlier today.
Oh, okay. Python not installed. Can you try Python 3 instead of Python? Try Python 3. Or you can say which Python or which Python 3. It should show some command.
It's Python 3 is coming.
Just use wherever I have Python, just use Python 3.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna run this now. So it just prints hello world. Okay. Okay, so our environment is working. Okay, so this means you can like run any kind of command. Like for example, if you say a is equal to 1, and I'll say 2 plus a, and then b. So you can do it step by step. So tomorrow, if there is a bug in, let's say, a equal to 1 itself, you can identify here rather than putting all of these together and like testing. So it's an easier way to test. But don't worry too much about it. Let's get into the today's project part. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will implement a markdown cell. So markdown cell is for you to just type text for it to understand. Okay. So I'm going to say the objective. Objective is create a news daily news summarizer app. How it works and do this. How it works. Runs every day. Takes the last 24 hours. Searches for news or actually for a given topic, for news across internet, summarizes the news and sends it to me. So this is a project I actually wanted to do. Simple. Okay. So if I run this, it will also show very nicely. Yeah. So this is like, it's always very good to kind of create, like an objective like this, because one, obviously it helps you think a little better. Second is it helps you to give this input to LLM, to the cursor to kind of implement whatever you're actually trying to implement. Okay. All right. So now let's get into the.
Hello, do you want to maximize that cursor screen?
Yeah.
Ah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So now I'm going to open the agent. Okay. I don't know what is the command. I typically use a command L. Okay. So in Mac command L, I'm sure in Windows control L. That's what should happen. Okay. Okay. Now, before we start working on this, it is better to set context to cursor what we are actually trying to do. If you are actually trying to do. So for that, go to cursor settings. There is something called cursor settings. Okay. It is highly recommended that you do all of this for each project. So basically, it gives information to cursor. What is this project? How is it supposed to work? Okay. Or I guess, where is it? I will see more information. VS Code account. Where is this? Features. Okay, where is this? Okay, they change, move the settings. Looks like rules. Correct. Got it. So there is something called project rules. Okay.
Where is it? Features,
It is
is it?
features. It's features and rules.
Tools for a
Rules.
okay.
You create a, no, not the general layer. Rules for user rules is basically common across all the things that you do. You can generally talk about, ask questions to human beings, always use best practices and the. There is something called project rules, which is like, what is this project about, is something you can actually add over there. Okay. You can add a lot of stuff. There is even this platform called cursor.directory. Okay, so they'll give you all the rules. You can just copy paste across. So you'll have whatever you are working on, you can simply say what you're working on, it will give you the rules. But yeah, this is an overkill at this point. So what I do is simply create a rule. I'll say project structure. Okay, so we can say What is this project? This is the Python application for daily use agent. How it works? Runs every day. Takes for a topic given by the user. Then searches the internet for the news. That's 24 hours. Summarizes the news, sends it to the user. Okay. Yeah. So this is the project structure. So now every time you can even say things like star.py, all Python files will be, but this is optional. Don't worry about it. So now every time you do any operation, it will always refer to this. Even if you don't mention, it will always refer to these documents, whatever documents you actually have to put in place. You can also add multiple rules like this. Just go to the same cursor and just keep adding more and more rules. So that also happens. Okay. So, but it's a very good practice. It's highly recommended that you actually do this. Now, let's get into the notebook. Okay. So, I'm going to tell. So, 3.7 is also available. Let's try using that, the latest one. But Claude, I've generally seen 3.5 or 3.7 are better than all the GPT ones. Oh, actually 4.5 is also there. I'm not used this, but yeah, these two are generally better. Okay, so so now we are going to kind of create the code. The practice is that be very deliberate. Sorry, before that, any questions so far? Is everyone okay?
This objective that you have created, no, that it's in another code markdown, is it, or is it part of the project structure?
It is a file here. Oh, India.
That I
This
saw.
one. This one. Yeah, it is
Yes.
just a markdown. It's a cell. It's just like a cell. You create it's a markdown cell where you can just type. You can paste images. You can do all of these things.
Right.
Yeah. So it's basically like a guide to know what it is. Wait, somebody is joining. Yeah, Ranjit. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions, guys, before we continue? Okay. I guess is everyone able to kind of like follow till now?
Yeah, following, but for me, I think I need to refer to your first video to kind of see my setup. So, but no worries, I'll do that afterwards.
Sure, sure. Yeah, but just follow these commands. They should mostly work. Should be okay. But yeah, like recommend that you go through that also because it creates a lot of headaches. Simple things, but it's a lot of headaches. Okay. Now, okay. So now we are gonna like talk to the agent first. So, few things. There are, if you're using cursor, especially in the new mode, there is one called ask, edit, and agent. So agent is something which will automatically, figure out, it'll automatically update all of those things. Ask is, it'll just give you an answer then and there. Edit also is somewhere in between. It doesn't like edit the files automatically. It just gives you something. So agent is the most powerful. I typically use agent and it just works. Okay. And yeah, so few things. If you're using multiple files, you can easily tag files. Just do an add. It will give you all the file folder, etc. Okay. By the way, if you have historical conversations, we have only one conversation today. If you have historical conversations, you can tag that conversation also. So it will summarize and, like for example, summarize to composer, it will summarize and use that composers here. So you can get the context from previous conversation also. You can do things like this. Okay. But the principle is that always try to set as much context as possible to the LLM. So I'm going to say objective. I always set an objective for every conversation so that it knows exactly what we are doing. We are creating a simple notebook to test, to implement our news app. Context on the news app is in, I can say, project structure. Okay. So we are go to this. I basically can give the topic as an input. So we'll give the topic as an input. Ask me every time. Then use Google search for search and giving me the output. So give me a basic structure of how this project works. And always, whenever you start a conversation, always say this: do not implement anything. Just tell me how the approach should be. Keep it simple for now. Okay. So let's see what happens. All right. So now we have this use summarizer approach or architecture. So user input collection, search for the relevant news on the topic, extract and summarize the news, and send the news to the user. Super. Makes sense. Create a simple interface to collect the topic from the user. Store preferences like we'll just say no need for any interface. Just ask in terminal for the topic and display the answers as now, or I can say just print the answers as output. Okay, so just keeping it simple. Google search API. Yeah, so last week, if you remember, we used this thing called SERP API from Google. So guys who are new, so there is a thing called SERPAPI.com, which is powered by Google. It'll basically do Google search. So we tried using it in the last week. We already created an account. So see if you can also create an account. It's very simple. It takes 5 minutes. It's free also for enough. I think there is a limit, but for our use case, it should be free. I'll say news SERP API from Google. I will give the API key. Content processing. Just use LLM to summarize the information. By the way, it doesn't automatically use LLMs. That's something I've realized. I don't know why. None of the AIs automatically use. Like if you ask you to give a use case where it needs to use LLM, it somehow goes for the traditional machine learning techniques. Like good that it is suggesting AI model, but usually it doesn't. It simply goes for some traditional things. Okay, LLM to summarize information. Now, this thing might be useful. I would say use light LLM. Okay, so I'll talk about what light LLM is. So if you're building any of these apps, so there is a thing called light LLM. Okay, it's a simple Python package. The advantage is that you use light LLM, you can keep switching models. See, you are always the Claude or your OpenAI or Gemini or other things, they may not always work. And second is you'll also keep switching them based on like different use case. The problem is each one of them have a different API, each one of them have a different implementation. And sometimes LLMs don't know what is the right implementation, they keep making mistakes. Okay, so light LLM is a very simple package. What it does is same API, you just tell which model to use. You say Gemini and give Gemini key, or you use OpenAI and use OpenAI key. You can keep switching much easily. So it's a very, very useful tool. It also gives you some other things. Like for example, it gives you if you want to implement in the future, how much cost are you spending on each of these? You can track all of those. How many times you are making API calls, how much input tokens, output tokens you're spending. So you want to go there, you can also do that. Okay, but even without that, simply by switching models easily, like use light LLM, you can switch models easily. It becomes very useful too. So I always use this for calling LLMs. Use light LLM. Editable format, deliver via email. Yeah, so this we already mentioned this it. So I'll say the summary can be in the following format. First, top three important items I should know. And I can say that anything else we should ask? Just top three items, right? Or any other format people you guys have in mind? No, okay. I'll just say top three items I should know, and then I'll say, yeah, let's start with this. We can always change it. See, if you see the technical things, it talks about another thing it does is it tries to implement as many packages as possible. It just takes random Python packages and it says like, use this, use this, etc. A lot of these things are like none of these things are actually useful. So we should simply be able to do it with the LLMs only. So we can also mention this. And say, don't use any of these, just use LLM for summarization. Okay, okay, done. Scheduling. No scheduling needed right now. Needed right now. I'll just add my name. Okay, so finally we say using a Python notebook to test this notebook IPNB. So I can update it. All right. All right, let's see. Let's just run this, see what happens. So again, like whenever you run, you need to be thorough. And when you say that ask questions, if any, it always asks questions. So I'm not added. I usually say ask questions, if any, but it always asks questions, and it is better to give like answers for this. Another interesting thing is once like you kind of discuss and figure out a structure, you can also ask it to give a like, hey, what does a project structure actually look like? It'll give you a project structure, copy it, and go paste it in the project structure. So these things are very useful actually. Okay, cool. Now we have simple terminal input, bloody document user, no complexity needed, just basic prompt. Google research, focus on string graph 24 hours, URL snippets from search results. It's the content from URLs and the HTTP request, light LLM for both. Parsing the content, summarizing information, display on the notebook terminal. Separate delivery mechanism not needed right now. Super, done. Okay, so yeah, these things we can ignore for now. From URL summarization, yeah, seems okay. All right, so let's say go ahead and implement and dip in the notebook. Let's see what happens. Any questions so far, guys?
I have one question. That agent that you have at the bottom, no, in my console, it's not showing up on the chat below the chat, right? In the chat window, you have to the left of that.
This one.
That one is not showing up on my
You probably have an older version where you
older
have
version.
an agent or editor here, the right side.
What is the difference between the two?
It's just a new version. It's the same. They just rearranged and made it this way.
Achha, okay.
So you'll see a chat and a composer here.
Oh yeah, correct.
They merged everything and they kind of made the UI.
That was easier to understand actually. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Even for me, it was easier actually. Okay, it has some problem in working with notebooks. Okay. Okay. Just stop. Do one thing. Just give me the code that I need to paste it in each block. Paste manually. Okay. By the way, like this thing works really well for like normal Python code, but for notebooks it really doesn't. Okay, so we have all of this. Just copy. Paste it. So we'll install all the packages. So all the packages that we install for a given project, it makes sense for us to store it in a requirements.txt. So requirements.txt. So here we let's go back. And wow, that is wrong. Sure, I'm just doing it manually. Let's see.
Vala, what's the difference between doing it in terminal and doing it above which this thing was running on its own?
See, it has a way of doing it, but like sometimes it hands here, but there is no difference. Just installs same place.
Do you try using this online notebooks by chance?
Yeah.
Does
Google Colab I have tried, but I'm very used to Jupyter Notebooks, which is on local.
okay, understood.
So I really like. I've never figured out. See, the problem with Google Colab is that connecting to I'd say APIs and other things wasn't very straightforward for me, at least when I started.
Understood.
Yeah. So I kind of stuck to this. But yeah, like if you are starting, probably Google Colab is also a good. Okay, so while this happens, we'll just copy paste the rest of the stuff. I don't need this anymore. So yeah, the installation needs to happen only once. So copy, read and import, next one. Okay, for this. Okay. Wait, what is this? What is this to? So this I understand. Enter the topic you're interested in. Cool, we are storing it in topic. Then search news. Okay, so engine Google, around news, etc. Google search. Okay. Maps. One day. Okay. Okay. Got it. And search news is done. Right. Search news is done. Content fetching. What does this have? Yeah. See, the best part is it doesn't make any syntax errors, so you don't have to worry about whether syntax is correct or wrong. Most likely, like I've never seen it make any syntax errors over the last 3-4 months. It's just the logic you need to verify, right? So you can just skim through the whole thing. You can use article from a URL. What we're doing is we have the URL, we are trying to get the URL and storing it in the response and process. So process, what are we doing? We have the article link, data, everything. Processed articles. Fetch article content. What is this shit? Fetch article content is, oh yeah, correct. Just getting it. Makes sense. Processed articles. Fine. Then we have content summarization using LLM. Hey, why is it installing so much stuff? Hey, yo. Hugging face off. I don't see much. Why is it installing so much stuff? Okay, let's check it. Summarize with LLM. Okay, so here I need a summary of the news about this topic. Here are the articles I found. So based on this is a prompt. This is what we'll work with. This is the only thing we should worry about. Based on these articles, provide me the top 3 items that you know about the topic, why they matter. And okay, for format response number list with a brief explanation for each item. Focus on the most significant developments and research for the last 24 hours. Makes sense. So when you want to change and play around with it, you just have to go change this prompt and play around with it. Okay, that's all. You have the prompt and you're saying how can you summarize national news. Okay. GPT 3.5, you can say GPT. 4.0 is the default place I start with because it is the best of all the worlds. Claude is very good at speaking content, etc. Your Gemini is good at like visualization, etc. But if you want a decent enough response across the board, it's GPT 4.0. That's what I go with. Okay. But like feel free to play around with whatever you think is nice. Okay, so this is done. Summarize with LLM, and finally we have display result. Okay, so what we're doing is we just do a display summary print. Okay, I don't know why it is creating function for everything, but it's okay. Complete news summarizer function. Okay, what I don't understand. What is this? Complete news summarizer function. The runtime. Okay, got it. Fine. So they just say searching for the news. It searches for the news. No news, etc. Then processed articles come here. Then we summarize those processed articles on the topic. Then we display the summary. Okay. Any questions on what we have? Makes sense, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's go there. No, I think it has to do with my laptop. A lot of things are open. No, it's just let me try. Installation is okay. I'm going to switch my video, guys, because I think it's my laptop. So yeah, so literally, see, the thing is, literally, all you have to do is just understand and ask the right questions. All the syntax, putting it whatever it is, everything it will actually take.
Sorry.
What was that?
No, my daughter said did some funny stuff. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Okay. So first, we are importing all the things. I have to give the keys here. So what I'm going to do is, so I don't want to expose a key like this. Okay, especially we are on a video call. Okay. So what I will do is I will create. It's also good practice. We discussed in the last call also. So it's good practice for you to create an env file where you create OpenAI API key and sub API key. Okay. These are not the actual keys. I will update this the actual keys in a bit. I will tell AI, let's copy, paste it here and say that hey, I don't want to expose my keys here. I have added them to the .env file. Please read from there. Okay, so when you copy paste it, it will also add it as a line number wise, each file, etc. So the it tags that corresponding section. So this is also a good way. You just copy paste it, it will just tag automatically. Okay, so I'm going to say read from there. Okay, got it. So first I'm going to copy and replace this, paste it. Okay, it also needs python.env. Okay, we install this also. Install. So it's already satisfied. Okay. Okay, so it says done. So Now it is searching for the topic. Oh, sorry, it's taking an input. Your box, there is a box which is open on top. It is very hard to see, but because I said like get user topic, it says input. So this input basically asks from the user what is the topic you want to work on. Okay. So when we finally do it, we will take it as an input from the API itself. So you can actually work with things like that, or from the browser. So we'll do all of those things. But okay, so what topic? Should we do Trump versus Zelensky?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Okay, so Trump versus Zelensky. So first part is done. That means this. The reason why we do notebook is that like section by section we can run and see. So I'm gonna do search news. Skip in the last 24 hours. And no news found out.
Did you give the API key?
I did. Oh yeah, I didn't get it. Okay, wait a second. I'm just gonna stop my screen share. And I will create. Oh, God. Okay, so the key is there. Let's try running this again. We need to go back here. Run. And it is there. This, let's see. Yeah, Zelensky. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick debug if see if the key is being found. Okay. I'm sorry, but I can't. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me just share this, but I'll edit it in the final video. Let's see. Print. Maybe. Okay, it is not working then. So PPT open.
Can you reload everything? Maybe that might be the case.
Yeah, and load. Restart. Okay. Okay. This is fine. Okay, this works. This say yes. See, this works. Okay, so now next is search article content, and then we are going to add them to process article. Wait, we said it said 10 articles found, right? 10 news articles. Why is it doing only 5? 10th of articles. Why is it articles to process? What is this max articles? Oh, default is 5. See? Say 10. Run this again. Okay. Okay, done. So now we're going to summarize this with LLM. Okay, summary is done. Display function is done. Okay, here it's saying the whole office. Right, implications are user generations and broad and public practice. ठीक है. Yep. So our app is ready. Okay, let's try a different topic. Okay, so let's run this again. In the bar, topic is running.
Should we run the new summarizer with the topic input?
New summarizer, no?
This new summarizer function, can we run that instead of running one by one? Will it work?
Oh, yeah. So this new summarizer function is what we are trying to do.
Mhm.
So let's say new summarizer. We can create artificial intelligence. Oh, I'm adding input equation. So we'll say IA. Let's see whether it gives the last 1 day's news or something else.
Why is it only finding 9 articles?
I think it just gets the search is resulting only in 9 articles. I think. I don't know. We'll have to check how we can improve, etc. Let's see. I'm going to search news, right? Time period is 1 day. So we are only saying 1 day.
Okay.
Oh, maximum number of results is 10, I think. I think we can play around with this a little bit. Okay, let's see what it says. Conservative distorting historical realities, ethical questions, etc. Global relations and security, economic impact, stock market fluctuations. Anything else that happened in the last 1 day? Oh, yeah. Yeah, EU, some EU person came, na? Yeah, this happened yesterday. This one got fucked up. I don't know why. Oh, you can also see a text editor. Right. This is better to see. Yep, these are all definitely new because I just read it in the morning. Super. Any questions on this so far? Yeah. See, like the principle is that the clarity towards what you want to ask needs to be there. As long as we spend enough time in this like this app is very simple, so we didn't spend a lot of time, but keep the requirements very small, and like getting enough clarity into what we want to ask is more important. So once you figure that out, essentially you don't have to make a lot of updates. Obviously, as the project gets more and more complicated, it will make shit lot of errors. It will replace a lot of existing stuff. That's what you see these memes about cursor, where it just overwrites things that you have worked on for weeks because it doesn't have context. So those things we'll get into that. How do you manage like larger projects, etc. But for it to get started and start working, you don't have to learn code. If you see, we've done all of these things without learning a single line of code. If somebody had done this, as long as they have done this part properly and it understood what it is actually trying to do, they would have done this and they would have gotten an outcome. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of what we're actually trying to illustrate over here. Any questions?
What's the logical next step here? I mean, if you wanted to put this into a browser or into a front end, you sort of create something separate for that in terms of front end and the back end. Or I don't want the big rundown on how that works, but just logically, how would you structure that?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good next step, right? So we have a few minutes, couple of minutes, but let's see if it can do. So now basically what we want to do is next step, I want to convert this notebook into a proper Python project. Okay, so here is make the project modular, create the file structure, paste the necessary code in the corresponding functions, and give me the instructions to run this project test it. Okay, so that's what we're actually trying to do. So let's just do this. Ask ourselves to ask questions. Then you always do this. Whenever you're trying to start something new, like unless you're debugging, you always do this. And when you do this, you'll always ask questions, but pretty much all of the time the questions are actually very relevant. Proposed project structure. So it says readme requirements env is fine. Main.config is for configurations. Okay. Use search content summary, utils, display, test. Okay. Let's create the project structure. Use utils, test. So it's basically creating all these folders. Okay. So agent can run these commands also. Like if you go to edit or other things, it can run these commands. By the way, it applies these versions. Okay. Like these versions are always a problem. It somehow always fails. But yeah. I end up like if it creates a problem, I end up removing these version numbers and it just works. That's what I do. Okay, now it is creating new files. So if you see there is a init file, it's creating, etc. It's just creating one by one. Summarizer. Again, I usually am a little bit more thorough in like doing things, like make sure that it's actually done. But just for like the time we have, I just want to run it now and see like what happens. Let's go to config and see what it's trying to do. So when you click on this, it will show. So only when you accept file, it actually accepts. It goes in other ways. You can just see. Okay, so not found, not found. Okay, default config. Maximum number of articles to process, which model to use. All of these things are actually coming in, which is good. Seems okay. Then we're creating a file for search. So whatever, yeah, they basically calling that Google Search API. Okay. We have content. So one thing I do before, because it's working on a lot of files, this is not a recommended approach. What I typically do is that I ask it to, what would be the process of converting it? Give me a document and give me the list of action items. So it will give you a list of like checkbox kind of action items. What I do is I also ask it to paste it in the document, saying like, hey, migration document. You always refer to the document, you do the change phase by phase, and you update the document what you have done and what is pending. So you're a little bit more deliberate. You're taking a lot of time so that it does the work properly. Because when it works on a lot of these files at a time, it makes mistakes. It makes a lot of mistakes.
I had a lot of mistakes. I was also doing the same thing. I had a lot of mistakes. I was just doing the same error again and again, like Andre Karpathy says. Vibe coding, doing the same error again and again. After 4 times, it fixed and it started running.
Yeah, you have to be like very, very, very focused. And sometimes what I do
This
is
time the error didn't bother going and checking online. I'm just throwing it back again and hoping that it fixes at some point.
happens with me also. See, one other thing is like last time we spoke about like checking into Git, right? Whenever it comes to keep fixing it, it changes a lot of stuff where I feel that it is not going anywhere. What I do is I go back to version. Usually it creates checkpoints. I think in this project there's not actually, but it says here restore before a particular command. So you can always go and restore to that particular point. That also helps quite a bit.
Oh,
okay, so can do that. Okay, so it's done. We will copy and paste. I think it is mostly should be done. Yes. We will run this user.py. Why is it user.py? It says main.py. Oh, it's here. Okay. User.py. Enter the topic you are interested in. The Bangalore pollution or Bangalore metro. Okay. Bye, Jinke. Yep. So done. Our project is fully migrated. Okay. It's as simple as this. Now I'll do another call. I'm not reviewing. Usually you need to review, but seems to work. Any questions? Like that's all we had for today.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you.
No, you'll have to try it out once and then see if you have any questions.
Correct. Yeah, just feel free to use the WhatsApp group. Ask questions if you have. But it actually, see, starting point becomes tougher, but it's actually very easy once you get a hang of it. Okay. Super. I guess hope it was useful. Again, just feel free to ask if there are any questions. We'll again next week. So we'll try to put probably a front end to this. We'll put an API for this. We'll try to do enhance it in some way. Okay.
Super. Chalo.
All right. Super. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.